right to work, obviously a tremendous opportunity. Going on the road again for the second time this year, actually leading the state for the first time. And against an excellent football team, really talented, well coached, high level play in all three phases, and open to questions.
With SMU, with what Rhett Lashley's been able to do since he got there 4 years ago, just what stands out about how he's built that program and the challenges you're going to be facing with them on Saturday?
Sure, there's a lot. I mean, I'll start with their defense. I mean, in so many statistical categories, they're top 15, top 5, top 3, forcing turnovers, stopping the run, red zone defense, sacks. I believe they're somewhere in the top 3, top 4 in sacks as well. So very disruptive, create a lot of pressure. Difficult situations for the offense, mix up their coverages really well, the ability to play man and zone really well. And they can roll them in. They've got a lot of players in a really good rotation. Offensively, obviously they've scored a lot of points for a long time. He's been calling it for a long time. He's done a great job, and certainly a lot of explosive playmakers in all areas with a really good and physical offensive line, as well as a quarterback that can beat you with his arm or with his feet by extending plays, but has become an excellent pocket passer as well. So really impressive football team.
Obviously with SMU, there's a lot of ex-Miami guys that are there, players. Obviously Rhett Lashley was here, and there's a couple guys on staff who were here at different points in time. Is it obviously it's part of football, college football these days, but it's a little odd, when there's so many familiar faces on the opposite sideline?
I think it's part of football. I think you see that on a weekly basis nowadays. Maybe 10 years ago that wasn't the case. But now it is, and at the end of the day, the guys, the 22 guys on the field are the ones that are going to have to execute right on both sides of the ball. So I'm sure both sides are equally excited for the opportunity on Saturday.
What allows SMU to be so successful at forcing turnovers, particularly? It seems like fumbles, they do a good job of.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, they've got great eyes, great eye discipline. And when they get to the football, they get there with a disposition to force that thing to come on out. And I feel like just watching them on film, they have a great feel for what the guy next to them is doing. So when they close on ball carriers, on quarterbacks, on receivers, they leverage the ball really, really well. Their disposition when they get there is one of physicality to force stuff out, but they're very athletic. They've got very good balance and body control. So if they're in the vicinity, no more times than not, it ends up in their hands. So you got to do a really good job being disciplined with what you run to disallow them from being in great position to create something in their favor.
Mario, with the ACC schedules, there's a lot of teams not going to face each other, just the way it is. Mm-hmm. This is one of those opportunities that you're going to face a team that essentially you control your own destiny. Just your thoughts on that you will have this your team has this opportunity with the teams you're
Sure.
facing.
Yeah, tremendous opportunity. Besides the fact they're playing a great team, it's another conference game, like we've talked about all year long. Every single game that you play, even out of conference games, they're all playoff games. They all have value, right? And then when you head into conference play, as the weeks go by, right, the level of difficulty and importance just continues to elevate. So for us, it's always about a 1-0 focus, making sure that we take care of our business, making sure that we are preparing in the manner of whether it be a walkthrough, a meeting, a practice, that we're preparing to our standards so that we can execute to the best that we possibly can. So that's our approach.
Mario, Marquise Lightfoot got a little bit more of an expanded role last week with Akeem out. Just what did you think about how he did and being able to step up when you guys needed him to?
I mean, hot and cold, he flashed, did some things. The detail of his game, the discipline of his game has to improve, which we expect him to. I mean, a very promising young player, a great young man. Certainly was good to get him in there, and thought he did, again, some good things, but we will make sure that he invests more time and that we invest more time in him to get some of those details ironed out to elevate his level of play. But I thought a lot of those guys that jumped in there on the defensive line played well, the young guys. I thought Dirk Scroggins played really good football. Mondo's not a young guy anymore. I know he should be a freshman due to him being an early enrollee and a reclass. Mondo played great football for us as well. Dante got in there and played some really meaningful snaps, had a tackle for loss, some other good plays. Who else played in there? Booker Pickett went in there and did some really nice things as well. So all in all, just a very strong performance by the defense, and a lot of young guys got some good playing time.
Mario, I know you said after the game Friday and then again on the radio this morning that Akeem was close to playing on Saturday. Do you anticipate him being available on this Saturday, or it's still up in the air?
We do. We expected him last week. We don't put a guy on there as probable. We probably err on the side of optimism more times than not, but we follow directions from the medical staff and felt good about it then, feel good about it now.
And then in the run game, I was crunching with the numbers this morning, and you guys are running up the middle, or between the tackles, I should say, a little bit more frequently this year than in years past. Is that just like, I guess, a matter of personnel, situation? Like, is there a thinking behind, or is a process behind that, or just like coincidence, I guess?
Is there a process by how we run the ball?
Or I guess it's like, is there a reason you guys are kind of running between the tackles more often this year than in the past, or is it just kind of coincidental?
Gotcha. Okay. No, I want to understand your question so I can answer it to the best of my abilities. Everything we do has a process, and anything game planned is because it gives us the best opportunity. Sometimes it's designed to go between the tackles. Sometimes it's designed to stretch things out a little bit more and may end up between the tackles. Sometimes we bank on someone getting spilled on the count and bouncing outside. Sometimes we think we could kick out a boxer and get inside. But I think the run game here for us has been pretty successful for a long time. We do face some loaded boxes. Sometimes it's successful and sometimes not as successful, but it is thoroughly planned. We're always looking for an advantage in the form of a formation, in the form of an extra hat, in the form of numbers, and in the form of leverage. So that's what goes into game plan, the run game, and we're always looking for ways to improve that in every part of our program.
Your cornerback rotation of Ethan O'Connor, Damari, Xavier all had about equal reps, a little bit less for OJ. Just how did you see that group last week, and just how do you feel about the depth having guys who you're able to rotate in out there?
Well, we think that group really, they played well, first and foremost, and the rotation was due to what we've seen in practice every single day. They earned the playing time. They did, and it starts with communication. You see the guys, we were in much better position and executed calls this week that maybe we didn't a week before. And more time invested, more, I would say, not comfort, but just pure, I would say, knowledge of the system and understanding the ins and outs of it and the importance of getting aligned and putting your eyes in the right place. I think kicked in more, especially after the first drive. But the guys that were playing, they earned it, and we felt that we can be a better defense if we rotate those guys in and keep them playing a little bit more fresh and high level.
You touched on it a little bit, that Dante Simpson getting in there, making some plays. As a true freshman, what's allowed him to kind of work his way into the lineup here in the middle point?
Yeah, probably the hardest position to play as a true freshman, getting in there as an interior defensive lineman. He really stood out in spring, got banged up a little bit, so he just started getting his legs underneath him towards the end of camp. And now after, 6 weeks plus, you see that he started to get like that snap back. He started to come out of his hips more. His first couple of steps are a lot more, he's got more foot and body quickness now. And he's developing more core strength, and he understands the system and his assignments, the calls that go with it, a lot better than he has. So we see a guy that's progressing really well, still has a ways to go, but every day, he's making progress towards just getting better, and we feel very strongly he's going to be a great player.
You've talked a lot about the work ethic of Malachi and how that's allowed him to also be an impactful freshman here. I'm curious, what physical traits you see from him that allow him to be such an effective player, his style on the field, etc.
That position he plays, besides the receiver position, but he lines outside, inside. He lines up all over the place. You have to have a natural feel for the game. There's nothing robotic about him. Post snap, the picture changes. If it's a route that requires finding green grass, a soft spot, he's got a great feel for that. If he is a perimeter blocker and the picture changes due to a pressure, and now the flat defender's got him out leverage, he understands half position on that play and will bust his butt to get it there and finish with really good technique and fundamentals. That's the product of, he might be 18 years old, but he's played a lot of football. And if there's something that he doesn't quite know or doesn't feel comfortable with, he spends an extraordinary amount of time learning it. Now you couple that with the fact that he is weight room strong. He's not a frail little guy now. He is, and he's still growing. He's thick, he's strong, he's explosive. He's a weight room and workout junkie. So I think all those things combined, allow him to be, and the mentality, of course, allow him to be a great football player.
After going back and watching film from Saturday, what did you think about the receivers who got more to the mix? Tony obviously had a great game. Josh Moore had some good plays. JoJo's on the field more. What did you think of their performance?
Probably what we all see. We see a lot of potential in all those guys, and then we see the areas where we got to get better at, right? One thing that you have to do by mid-season, you have to eliminate any mental mistakes, right? Techniques and fundamental have got to get better, and certainly you can't allow drops to happen. Okay, we got a couple in the game, not the young guys, maybe more the older guys, but we saw improvement. We saw it in practice. The past 2.5 weeks have been much more productive and much more consistent. Now we got to carry all that consistency over to the game, because the details of that position nowadays, especially in some of those condensed formations or in some of the plays that bring an extra guy in the box, those guys are responsible for a lot. It's more than just running around and catching the ball. So alignment, assignment's important, splits are important, footwork's important. We saw a lot of progress, a lot of promise in all those guys, and we expect their roles to continue to increase and then to continue to get better.
You talk a lot about, like, in the midpoint of the season, teams got film on everyone and they can make adjustments on you. As it relates to, like, Ruben Bain, right, who's not putting up huge stats, counting stats these past couple games, but still impacting the game. Can you go into just how you're seeing in these recent games how Ruben is impacting the game and maybe how teams are,
Well, I think the grounding was a result of his pressure as well, right? That's a loss of down, and that's as good as a sack, right? A holding penalty also caused by that as well. It changed the way people have to play you, so if they have to keep an extra guy in, that's one less receiver they have out, right? Less of a pull on the flat defender. Hook curl players got cleaner eyes. Also, if you can make them right or left-handed if they choose to run away from him. But when a player causes that much change for an opponent, then maybe you don't make them one-dimensional, but you certainly, you handcuff them on certain things that they like to do. So it's in terms of statistical numbers or whatnot, I think the world's always in love with that stuff because it's a measurement, right? It's a metric. But the best metric for us is the film and the product on the field, and he's playing at an extremely high level that's causing people to play different. And his continued push to get better and better is gonna draw more and more attention. And the statistical part will come with it. The impact is it's not going to go away. It's only going to be more and more.
This might be getting in the weeds a bit, but time of possession. This is an interesting matchup, time of possession wise. You guys possessing the ball a lot, and SMU's kind of low on the time of possession metric. Does that come into any part of like game planning for an opponent?
I think every aspect imaginable is always brought to the table. By Sunday night, Monday morning, you have to really come to a realization, maybe not all the way there, but pretty strong idea. This is the best way to play to win the game, right? And of course, points and stops are at the forefront of that. And you're looking at a team that scores a lot of points and gets a lot of stops, right? With some really good players that could hurt you with explosive play. They can methodically drive it down the field when they want to as well. So, and then we feel like we're finding, our groove again offensively in the end of the first half and then the second half of the game. So all those things are taken into account and discussed. Tempo is always something you have to prepare for. Varied tempos are things you have to prepare for. Misplaced personnel, funky formations, right? Opening scripts, all that stuff is taken into account, and certainly we feel that we have a good plan so far. We'll continue working on that.
Mario, you spoke at the beginning, just first time out of Florida, just your thoughts on that, maybe the keys for teams that you found going on the road, playing a road game, different environment.
The process is so similar that the impact of actually getting on a plane and whatnot is not much. I mean, it's actually an extra nap. Like when we get to the hotel, you have an extra nap. And it's an 11 a.m. kickoff, right? Which for us, those are our work hours. We're up early, right? Our wake-up times and our treatment and taking times really mimic that of Saturday's contest. So we feel great about that, just the importance of knowing and understanding that as opposed to the last several weeks, when you wake up on Saturday, you got to hit the ground running because we're rolling. You're having a pregame meal, you're having your walkthrough, and you're on the bus, and you're headed to the stadium. So, not sure if that answered the question. It was more related to being out of state, but you know, temperature is going to be. It's going to be a great football day, great stadium, great environment against a great program. I mean, it's what college football is all about.
What do you like about Carson Beck's performance?
Consistency, accuracy, you know, decision making, and the ability to improve it even more. We had a chance to really, you know, connect in we scored 6 of the last 7 drives. We could have been 7 for 7. And the opening drive, you know, even though we reduced the amount of offensive pre-snap penalties, we had one on the first drive, and it certainly hurt us. But thought that when we were all on the same page, that the execution was at a much better level, and there's an appetite to continue to get them improved.